welcome to Whispered Rain Stories. Hey, you can close your eyes now. Let me tell you a story, while the rain takes care of the rest. Rain began the way memories often return, quiet, hesitant, almost shy. I was sitting by the window again, just as I had so many nights before, with the room dimly lit by the soft glow of a single lamp, and you only a thought away, outside. The sky had folded itself into 1,000 shades of gray. The clouds hung low and heavy like a sigh that had been waiting all day to be released. And then it came, one small drop against the glass, just one, then another, then hundreds, until the world beyond the pane was wrapped in a veil of silver threads. That sound, the hush of rain falling, was always our favorite. Do you remember? I used to say the rain was the only thing that ever truly understood us. It never asked questions, it never rushed, it only listened in silence. The way I still do when I think of you. I reached for my cup of tea still warm, but I'd forgotten it for hours and cradled it in both hands. Steam curled upward like breath meeting the cold, and I watched it dance before fading into nothing. It reminded me of that day we met. Everything was so fleeting, yet some moments never really leave, do they? Back then, the rain was just beginning too. You were standing beneath the awning of that little bookshop across from the cafe, one hand tucked under your coat, the other holding a folded umbrella you never opened. You watched the rain like it was telling you a secret. I watched you like you were answering a question I hadn't dared ask. Funny how some people feel like home the moment you see them. That night, I never said a word to you, but I wrote something on the back of a receipt with a borrowed pen, just one sentence like a whisper in ink. If love had a sound, it would fall like this rain. I folded it, pressed it between the pages of a book I never finished, and carried it home with me. Maybe I was saving it, or maybe I was afraid of what it meant. Done now, years later, I still sit by this window. I still listen. The rain has never stopped being our language, even in your absence. It speaks for both of us. I like to imagine that wherever you are, the same storm is touching your windows too. Maybe you're listening, maybe you remember. Tonight, the air smells of earth and lavender, like the way your scarf always did. Rhythm of the drops is slow and measured, like a lullaby that's been playing for centuries. It fills the space between my heartbeats. I press my forehead to the glass. It's cool, almost like your touch. I close my eyes, and in the hush between raindrops, I can almost hear you say my name. There's something sacred about missing someone. Gently, not with ache, but with reverence. Not with a scream, but with silence. I've left the window cracked open just enough for the sound of the rain to slip in, and with it, breeze that smells like the memory of spring. Somewhere in the folds of this night, a letter waits to be written, not with ink, but with longing, with the sound of rain tapping softly like your fingertips across my shoulder. With every word I whisper into the dark, hoping the sky will carry it to you. I will write it slowly, not to be read, only to be felt. And when the night grows quiet enough, when the rain becomes a part of my breath, I'll leave it on the window, just like before, for you to find. Someday, asterisk, 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 the rain hasn't stopped. It's gentler now, like it's trying not to wake something sleeping, or perhaps, like it's waiting the way I've waited, for a voice, for a footstep, for your hand to return to mine, just once in the hush between the seconds. Tonight, the world feels like it's folded in velvet, soft, dim, weightless. Every sound is blurred except the rain, which threads its way through the night like a lullaby hum from far away. I haven't turned on the lights. Only the flicker of the candle by the sill remains, a tiny heart glowing faintly, trembling every time the breeze slips in through the slightly open window. It's enough. The shadows stretch like familiar arms, and I let them hold me sometimes. And if I write to you like this, quietly, with no expectation of an answer, would the words reach you, not as letters on a page, but as something softer, like a pulse beneath the skin, like warmth in the air. I remember the way you used to rest your head against my shoulder, saying nothing, just letting the silence be enough. You were never afraid of it, the silence. You understood its language the way few ever could. It made me fall for you, not all at once, but in gentle waves, in moments too small for the world to notice, like the way your fingers trailed along the window pane when the storm was loud, or the way your breath slowed when I read to you, your eyes closing not because the words bored you, but because they calmed something in you. I keep your book here, still, the one we never finished together. Pressed forget-me-not hides in the crease of page 71. I found it again last night. It was brittle with time, but still held its shape like the memory of your touch. I'm not sad, not exactly doubt. It's something softer than sorrow, something that lingers even after the pain is gone, like the warmth of hands long after they've let go. It's strange, isn't it, how we carry people inside us, not in the way of photographs or conversations, but in the rhythm of how we look at the rain and how we wait even when we say we aren't waiting. I think I loved you because you never asked me to be louder than the world. You let me whisper, and somehow you always heard me. It's raining a little harder now. The droplets form silver rivers down the glass, carving paths like the ones you once traced on my skin, slow, thoughtful, full of unspoken meaning. I close my eyes. I let myself imagine that you're still here, that your hand is resting on the table beside mine, unmoving but warm, that if I whispered your name now, just under my breath, you turned to me, sleepy-eyed, and smile, that quiet smile, the one that felt like morning, but I don't say your name. Not tonight. Instead, I write it. Not on paper, but on the inside of my chest, where it echoes with every heartbeat. It's funny, the things we don't say. The night is full of them, full of the words I almost gave you, the touches I almost reached for, the letters I never sent. But the rain knows them. The rain has heard every sentence I've never spoken. It's held them in its fall, in the hush between drops in the mist. That settles when the world exhales, and I think maybe that's enough. Maybe this storm is my answer. Maybe you are listening in some other room with a different window, but with the same sky overhead. Maybe this rain touches you too, and you wonder why your heart stirs without reason. Maybe in some way, you remember me the way I remember you, not as something broken, but as something unfinished, not as an ending, but as a pause. And maybe that's what love really is, not forever, but always, even when it rains. It's just past midnight now. The candle by the window has burned low, its wax curling along the base like forgotten time. I haven't moved in hours, only shifted slightly to keep the blanket around my shoulders, the one you once said smelled like the sky before it rains. I never quite knew what you meant, but now I think I do. The room is quiet except for the sound of the rain, which falls like a memory in slow motion. Every drop seems to carry something I once felt, or almost said, or lost. It's strange how the quiet gets louder when you're alone, not in a painful way, but like a hollow note on a piano, a sound that lingers even when the keys are still. I lean forward, resting my elbow on the windowsill, tracing the cold outline of a raindrop as it slides down the glass. It reminds me of your fingertips on my skin, not in the way that burns, but in the way that stays. I whisper quietly to no one, are you out there somewhere, remembering this too? A question I know will never be answered, but I ask it anyway, not because I need a reply, but because some things deserve to be said, even if only to the night. Do you remember the little cafe at the end of the lane? The one with the old armchairs and the creaky floorboards? We used to sit by the rain-splattered windows for hours. You'd always order tea with honey and a little lemon, and I'd pretend I didn't like the way you stirred it, even though I loved it, that lazy spiral like you were painting warmth into the cup. You said the rain made everything feel slower, softer. Like time didn't matter when the world was wet and quiet. I think that's why I loved rainy days with you, because they gave us permission to simply be. No noise, no urgency, just presence, just breath. I remember one afternoon, the rain was so heavy we couldn't hear each other speak. So you took out your notebook, tore a page, and wrote, "Let's just listen. The sky is singing something only hearts can hear." You passed me the note and smiled without looking up. That smile, I keep it close. It still lives in the corner of my memory, warm and light and untouchable. I kept the note. Of course I did that. It's tucked between the pages of a weathered poetry book by the bed. I reread it sometimes, especially on nights like this, when the silence feels familiar and the rain writes poems of its own against the window pane. Sometimes I imagine what your life is now. Are you somewhere brighter, warmer? Do you still pause when it rains? Have you found someone who reads your silences the way I tried to? I hope so, truly. Because love, real love, isn't about possession. It's about presence. It's about knowing that someone once saw you, really saw you, and still chose to sit beside you in the storm. And I did. Even now, I still do, in these whispers, in these letters I never send, in the space between every raindrop that finds its way to my window. Tonight, the storm deepens. Thunder rolls faintly in the distance, not loud, but low, like a heart murmuring under blankets. The wind taps against the glass as if asking to be let in, and I always do. Because the night is never quite empty when it rains. Because, in some gentle, aching way, the rain still feels like you. And I still sit by the window, as if you'll appear, not in flesh, but in feeling. A presence in the corners of my room. A softness in the shadows. A name that doesn't need to be spoken aloud to be real. You once told me that love was not a thing to hold, but a place to return to. And if that's true, then this is it, that this moment, this rain, this quiet remembering in the dark. And even if we never meet again beneath the same umbrella, even if our paths have bent and broken in ways we can't unwrite, I will still sit here. I will still wait, not for you, but for the feeling of you. Because some loves don't end, they just echo. And tonight, that echo lives in the sound of the rain against this old glass, still writing to you, still whispering, still. Here, asterisk, asterisk, the storm has softened now. The rain no longer taps, it sighs. Like a lullaby being hummed from beneath the earth. The kind of rain that doesn't demand attention, but offers it quietly, steadily, like your presence once did. I've moved from the window just for a little while. I'm in the kitchen now, the old one, the one where your mug still sits on the second shelf, slightly chipped near the handle. I've never used it since, not out of grief, but reverence. It feels like it still holds your fingerprints, or maybe I just imagine that. I've never been good at letting go of what can't be touched anymore. I boil the water slowly, letting the kettle sing. It's a soft sound, almost timid. It reminds me of the way you used to hum when you thought I was asleep. Those little tunes with no name, carried like a breeze into the early hours. I make tea the way you liked it, even though I drink it alone now. Honey, lemon, stirred. Slowly, clockwise, you used to say it tasted like golden rain. I never quite understood what that meant until the night you left, and then somehow it made perfect sense. I bring the cup back to the window and place it beside your old mug, as if we were still here together, sharing the silence, letting the rain fill the space where words might have been. Some nights I forget the world outside exists. This little room, this dim corner with its curtain of falling rain, becomes the whole universe. And in that universe, we are still two people sitting quietly in the same rhythm, stillness. When shared becomes a kind of intimacy. Do you remember? There were nights we barely spoke, yet somehow felt closer than ever. We'd I'd sit across from one, another with a candle flickering between us, not needing anything more than presence. You'd reach for my hand without looking. I'd close my eyes and simply breathe, knowing you were near. I live in that breath now, that in-between place. Not here, not gone, just echoing. The tea has cooled a little. I take a sip and close my eyes. The warmth doesn't fill me like it used to, but it still settles somewhere deep. Like a memory being stirred awake. Tonight, I found one of her scarves in the back of the wardrobe. The one with the pale green threads. It still carries your scent, faint like a ghost of something once bright. I wrapped it around my shoulders and stood there for a long time, unmoving. And for a second, I felt you again, not as a figure, not as a memory, but as a breath just behind me, as a weightless. I surround my skin. Do you ever feel that too? The soft touch of something that cannot be. I wonder sometimes if you still think of me when the rain comes suddenly in the afternoon. If the smell of wet earth brings back the night. We danced barefoot on the porch, the music drowned by thunder. Our laughter wrapped in wind. I remember your eyes that night. The way they lit up like stars soaked in rain. You said you felt infinite. That you could live inside that moment forever. I think I have. Even now, all this time later, I haven't stepped outside during a storm. Not because I'm afraid, but because I know I turned my head expecting to see you. Barefoot, smiling, hair dripping, hands outstretched like you were welcoming the sky itself. I know I would reach for you, and my hands would close around. Air dot, and so I stay here dot inside dot by the window dot with your cup beside mine, with your scarf around my shoulders, with your silence in my chest, because this is the only way I know how to keep you near dot, to write to you in whispers, to let the rain answer for you, to believe that somewhere in some other window you are doing the same, that you too have a mug you never use, a song you never finish, humming, a room you never fully leave, and in that quietness we are still together, not in the way the world understands, but in the way the rain does, the way silence does, the way love, real love, always does. It's nearly morning now, but the sky still wears its night blue robe, heavy with clouds that refuse to open to the light. The rain hasn't stopped. It's gentler now, falling in waves that sound more like breathing than water. I think the sky is trying to sleep, or maybe dream. Maybe we all are. I lit another candle dot, not because I needed the light, but because it makes the room feel less hollow. The flame flickers, casting soft shadows on the wall, long, familiar shapes. For a moment, I imagined one of them was yours. You used to sit in that chair by the window, the old armchair with the worn fabric and the crooked leg. You always tucked your feet beneath you like you were curling into yourself, safe, small, perfectly content. I never understood how someone could make stillness look so alive. That chair hasn't been moved since that. It sits exactly where you left it. Sometimes I find myself glancing at it like you might still be there, knees pulled up, a book half open, on your lap, your fingers absent-mindedly tracing the edge of the page while your thoughts drifted somewhere. I could never quite follow. You were always a little far away, even when you were here. I think that's what made me love you in the quietest way, like one loves a song they don't fully understand, but still hum when they're alone. You were not loud or easy. You were layered and slow, like the scent of jasmine in the dark, or the way the sea sounds in a seashell, distant but deeply present. And tonight, brain sounds like you, not in any exact way, but in rhythm dot, in how it lingers dot, in how it touches. Without asking, I've started speaking to you out loud now, sometimes, just a sentence or two. The walls don't answer, of course, but the sound of my voice feels softer when I pretend you're listening. Earlier, I whispered, "Do you still think of me when it rains like this?" No one replied, but the candle flickered slightly, and I thought maybe that was enough. Do you remember the night the power went out? We lit every candle we had, even the old ones, half melted and hidden in drawers. The whole room glowed like memory. You laughed and said it felt like a dream, and I said, maybe it is. Then we both sat in silence, not needing anything else. Just you, just me, just the sound of water falling steadily against the roof. I think that was the first time I felt what it meant to belong to a moment, to truly belong. No photographs, no plans, no future, just breath, just now, just us. I replayed that night more than I should, because I'm holding on too tightly, because it's the only place where everything still feels whole, real, warm, like you never left, like your book is still open on the windowsill, like your tea is still steaming beside your hand, like the rain is just something we're watching together. Is that strange? To live in memories as if they're rooms we can visit. I become good at it. I close my eyes and you're there, tucked into your chair. Candlelight in your eyes, the sound of rain painting the space between us. I don't cry, not tonight. Not because it doesn't ache, it does, but because I've made peace with the ache. It's part of the music now, like the low notes in a lullaby, like the shadow that makes the candle glow brighter. I think love is what remains after everything else fades, after time, after distance. Or even words stop working, it lingers, it whispers. It keeps a chair unmoved, a mug untouched, a scarf folded. Gently, it lets the rain speak when the heart is too quiet to try. And so, I listen, and I stay. I remember not just the moments that broke me, but the ones that made me whole. Even if only for a moment, like that night without power. Like the way you looked at me when you thought I wasn't watching, like now, right now. With the candles still flickering, with the rain still falling, with your absence somehow filling the room, more fully than presence ever could. I sit here, whispering to the shadows, and somewhere deep in the quiet, I feel your name rise again, not to be said, but to be felt, always. Asterisk, 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 there are certain memories that don't ask permission to return. They arrive quietly, like breath fogging glass, unexpected, delicate, impossible to hold. And yet, they stay. Tonight, I felt one come back, not loudly, just gently. The way your hand once rested on my chest in the dark, fingers spread over my heartbeat, not asking questions. Only listening, it was raining that night too, the kind of soft, misting rain that falls without sound, kind that feels like the sky is weeping in its sleep. I remember the way your hair smelled, faintly of lavender and something deeper, like memories soaked in warmth. We weren't speaking. We didn't need to. You laid your head on my shoulder and whispered something I still hear when the house is this quiet. I don't want to be remembered. I want to be felt. At the time, I didn't understand. Now, I think it's the only kind of memory that matters, because you're not a story I tell. You're the pause between my words, the breath I take before I say anything at all. You're the way I move slower now, the way I look out at the rain as if it's trying to speak, the way I linger in empty rooms longer than I should, not in sadness, but in reverence. You're the warmth in the blanket I wrap around myself. You're the echo in the hallway that only I can hear. It's strange how someone can be gone and yet still live in so many ordinary things. You're in the tea I stir every night, in the silence between songs on the old record player, in the curve of the candle's flame when the wind leans in. Tonight, I stood barefoot by the door and thought about opening it just to feel the rain again. But I didn't, not because I was afraid, but because it felt like too much, like stepping outside might wash you away. And I'm not ready for that, not yet, so instead, I reached for the little music box you once gave me, the one shaped like a house, with the chipped roof and the delicate ballerina that never quite spins. You said it reminded you of us, slightly broken, but still beautiful when it sang. I wound it up, and the song played soft, then a little off-key, but it filled the room. It filled me, and for a moment I imagined you here, sitting across from me, knees tucked beneath you, your gaze soft and unreadable. You always looked at me like you were holding back 100 thoughts, and giving me only the most tender one, and that was always enough. We never needed grand declarations. You once said that love isn't loud, it's the quiet that never leaves. And now I know what you meant, because even in this emptiness, even in this old room that holds more ghosts than people, your quiet never left. It lives in the way the candle flickers when the wind sighs, in the way the window fogs up with my breath, in the way the rain wraps its arms around the house like a lullaby with no words. Do you know what I miss most? It's not your voice, not your hands, not even your laughter. It's the moments in between, that space between silence and sound, the place where I could feel you without needing to touch you. I miss sitting beside you and doing nothing, not needing to fill the air with anything more than presence. I miss that sacred stillness, that gentle, unnamed thing that only lived in the space between two heartbeats. You once told me you believed in past lives, that maybe we loved each other before, in other skies, other names, other bodies, and that's why this felt so familiar. I want to believe that too, because it makes this ache feel less like an ending, and more like a pause, a soft inhale waiting to become something again, maybe in another life. I'll open that door and step into the rain without fear. Maybe you'll be there, waiting barefoot in the storm, your hair soaked, your smile slow. Maybe we'll say nothing at all. Just breathe, just feel, just begin again. Until then, I stay here, with your song echoing in the walls, with your silence wrapped around my ribs, with your name held in the hush of every falling drop, still loving you, still whispering, still here. The night never fully left. The hours stretched, slow and blue, as though time itself had grown sleepy, heavy with dreams it refused to wake from. And so I stayed, too, suspended in that soft, weightless hush between midnight and morning. The rain still falling, like a memory repeating itself over and over, unwilling to be forgotten. Sometimes I wonder, how long has it been? Not in days, not in years, but in heartbeats, in glances missed, in all the small moments that never had a chance to happen. The truth is, I've stopped counting time the way I used to. Now, I count how often I reach for a hand that isn't there, how often I start to speak and stop, how often the wind brushes past me and feels like your breath. You were never loud in your leaving, no slamming door, no angry words, just a silence that arrived like fog, gentle and absolute. You were here, and then you weren't, and the house remembered. Every step I take still feels like walking around the shape of your absence. It's strange how absence has a shape. It bends the air. It settles in chairs. It lingers in mirrors, in doorways, in the corners where light fades first. It creaks in the floorboards. It sighs through the windows, but it also holds me, gently, painfully, like a memory that doesn't want to hurt, but doesn't know how not to. Tonight, I sat on the floor with the old photo album, the one you insisted we keep, even though we really took pictures, page after page of almost nothing, empty sleeves, blank spaces, forgotten names. But there's one picture still there, just one, you sitting on the windowsill, rain outside, a book in your hands, your head tilted slightly as if listening to a song only you could hear. And even in that still frame, I can feel it, that quiet, that sense of you. I trace your outline with my fingertips, and for a moment I forget the ache. You're not gone, just hidden, folded into the rain, into the walls, into the quiet parts of me that no one else touches. I think love, real love, is like that. It doesn't vanish, it changes shape, it becomes the way I sit to cups on the table even now. The way I hum your song without realizing, the way I wake, sometimes sure that you've just whispered my name, and Maybe you have, maybe you do. Maybe love is a thread we never stop tugging across time and dream in silence. Do you remember the night we fell asleep on the couch? The storm outside was loud, wild, almost angry, but in here, everything was soft. You curled into me without a word. I pulled the blanket over your shoulder. The lightning flashed, but you didn't flinch. You just murmured, "It's just the sky remembering something." I didn't understand it then, but I do now. That sound, that thunder, is not a threat dot, it's memory speaking in the voice of weather and the rain. It's the sky's way of holding on to what it loved. Maybe that's all I'm doing, dot, raining dots softly, constantly loving you in the only way I still can. By remembering you with everything I do not say, by sitting with your silence like an old friend, by folding the blanket the way you used to, even though no one's there to use it now. Love doesn't always need a witness. Sometimes it just needs to be dot to hum softly in a quiet room, dot to breathe against the window, dot to live in the waiting. I don't know if you'll ever return, or if you're already here, just in a way I can't name. But I know this, you were real, and I was real with you. And that kind of truth doesn't disappear, dot, it becomes rain. It becomes hush. It becomes a love letter, left quietly on a window. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. There's a kind of silence that feels almost alive, dot, not empty, not cold, but full, like it's been holding something for too long. That's the silence in this room tonight, dot, it presses softly against the walls, curls around the corners of the bed, gathers near the window like it's waiting. It's the same silence that lived between us back when words weren't necessary. The kind that breathed with us, kind that knew when to leave space for the heart to speak on its own. I've stopped trying to fill it. Now I listen to it, as if it might say your name back to me. There's something sacred in that kind of quiet, something only lovers understand, the space where presence doesn't have to be proven. I remember the way you used to rest your head on my chest and say nothing for hours. I asked you once what you were thinking, and you just smiled. Not everything has to become a sentence. You whispered, dot, you were right. Some things are too soft for language, too holy for explanation, like the way your hand used to find mine in the dark without searching, like the way our breaths used to fall into rhythm without trying. That's what I miss. Not the grand moments, not the declarations, but the slow unfolding, the way we move through each other's lives like a quiet river, shaping without force, changing without asking. The candle burned lower tonight. I didn't light another one. The dark felt honest, gentle, dot, outside. The rain has softened to mist, a whisper of water, barely there. I opened the window for the first time in weeks. The air touched my skin like a memory, damp, cool, electric, and for a moment I swore I could smell you. Not perfume, not soap, dot, just that you smell. The one I could never quite describe, the one that lingered on pillows and scarves. In the folds of books you loved, dot, it wrapped around me like a ghost that didn't mean to haunt, just wanted to be close. I leaned on the windowsill and let the rain kiss my face, not crying, just letting, dot, and in that letting something inside me open, not to release you, but to hold you differently, less like a wound, more like a prayer, because even now, for all this time, you still feel near, not in the way that hurts, in the way that heals. You are still the hush before the storm, still the warmth in the cup I hold too long, still the pause I take before I say anything true. Maybe love is meant to become the atmosphere, to soak into the walls, the rain, the silence. Maybe it was never meant to be something we carry. Maybe it's something that carries us. You told me once on a night just like this, your favorite part of the rain was the way it blurred everything. It makes the world softer. You said, eyes half closed, less sharp, less certain, more like a dream. That's how you felt to me, like a dream I never wanted to wake from. And now, I think I live inside that dream, dot, not trapped, not lost, just surrounded by what you left behind, not your things, not your voice, but your quiet dot, the kind that listens, kind that holds, the kind that lingers. I think if I stood still long enough, I'd feel your hand brush mine, not to say I'm back, but to say I never really left. And maybe that's enough, dot, to know that love like ours doesn't vanish, dot. It just changes color. It deepens in the dark. It whispers when the world forgets to speak. So I sit here, the candle nearly gone, the room shadowed, the rain still breathing, and I whisper into the silence again, wherever you are, I still feel you. And for a moment, in the soft hush that follows, it feels like you whisper back. It rained again this evening, a slow, silver rain, the kind that barely makes a sound, but fills the room with something tender, like the sky is remembering something it doesn't want to forget, like it's writing a letter with each drop, and every letter begins with your name. I lit a candle out of habit, not for light, but for the way the flame flickers, like it's breathing, like it's listening. The house has been quieter than usual. Even the wind is gentle now, it feels like everything is waiting, but I no longer ask for what. Maybe not everything that waits wants an answer. Maybe some silences just want to be held. I've stopped looking for your voice in the walls. I've stopped opening books hoping to find your handwriting in the margins, instead I sit, I breathe, I remember without reaching. There's peace in that, not because the ache is gone, but because I've made room for it, I think I've come to understand something. You never truly leave the ones you love. You become the way they hold a cup with both hands, the way they pause before they speak, the way they cry during a song they can't explain. You become the quiet I trust now, the hush I lean into when the world feels too much. Not a ghost, not a shadow, but a rhythm, a warmth, a presence without name. Sometimes I wonder if I saw you again, truly, somehow, impossibly, what I would say. When I tell you I've kept your scarf folded by the window all this time. When I tell you I still sleep on my side of the bed. When I tell you how often your memory sits beside me like a second heart. Or would I just take your hand and say nothing at all? Because I think we always spoke best in silence. That's the kind of love we had, wasn't it? Not loud, not desperate, but steady, still, like water in a deep well. I still feel it, in the hush before sleep, in the soft drift of rain across the window, in the slow pulse of the candle's light. You are still with me, not as a weight, but as a thread, woven into the fabric of everything I do now. And there's beauty in that, there's peace. Because grief, I've learned, is not the enemy of love, it is proof of it, its shadow, its echo. And when I close my eyes and the room goes still, I don't feel loss anymore. I feel devotion, not the kind that doesn't need answers, the kind that doesn't fade, the kind that stays like mist, like moonlight, like memory folded into the rain. Tonight, I wrote your name on the fogged window, just once. Just softly, it faded before I could finish, but that felt right. Some things aren't meant to last in the way we think. Some things last by disappearing slowly, beautifully, becoming everything else. You are not gone. You are the pause between raindrops, the hush between verses, the warmth and the quiet of my bones. And I am still here, still loving you in the way I always have, gently, completely, without needing to be seen. Asterisk, 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 the candle has burned all the way down. Just a pool of wax now, cooling slowly in the dark. The rain is softened to the faintest mist, no longer falling, but floating. It clings to the glass in tiny silver beads, as if the sky itself is breathing slower, quieter, like it too is ready to sleep. I sit in the same spot as I always do. By the window, the old scarf still folded neatly, the blanket still holding the memory of warmth. But tonight, there's something different in the air. Not heavy, not aching, just stillness, sacred, full. You've been gone for some time now, and yet, It feels like I've just begun to understand you, not as someone who left, but as someone who stayed in all the ways that matter. You become part of my rituals. The slow making of tea, the folding of sheets, the way I look up when it rains. You're in the small things now, and maybe that's the most honest kind of eternity. I don't search for you in the world anymore, because you've become part of it. You are in the way the light bends through the window on rainy afternoons, in the hush of midnight that feels like being held, in the echo of a soft song played far away, and the way it tightens my chest before it even reaches the chorus. You're in me, not like a scar, but like a second heart, and maybe, just maybe, that's how love continues, not through possession, but through presence, through the way we keep becoming each other after goodbye. I used to think closure meant forgetting. Understand, closure is learning how to live with the open window, to let the air pass through, to let the memory visit, to sit beside it without asking it to leave, and tonight, as I stand here, fingers resting gently against the glass, I don't cry, I don't ache, I just whisper, thank you for loving me in the quiet, and I imagine somewhere in some dream, some echo, you whisper back, I still do, so I close the window, gently, not as an ending, but as a promise, to protect the quiet, to keep the warmth inside, to carry this love, soft and steady, like a lantern in my chest. Candle may be out, but the light remains, in the rain that will always return, in the hush that holds every heartbeat, in the sacred space where love, once given, never truly disappears. Tonight I will sleep, not to forget, but to dream. The love that stays, not in arms, but in atmosphere, and in the silence that follows. You are there.